Hi, this is Stephen Van Kampen-Lewis on September 22nd, 2019, and it's about 1 in the afternoon, about 92 degrees, which is about 10 degrees cooler than it has been for the past 2 months at this time. Um, and maybe the world is cooling off, at least for in this part of the world, for a season or so. But I wanted to talk to you a little bit about two different things. First of all, I wanted to talk to you about Cattleya nobilior and do kind of a mid-season update of a couple of my plants, and maybe show you, if you're in the southern part of the United States, what your plants should look like, ideally. And then I want to talk a little bit about this Clowesetum Dragon's Gem Cardrona is the clonal name, and it's in bloom right now, very fragrant, kind of an off-season bloom. This one normally blooms in February for me, so I'm kind of surprised that I have 4 spikes here at the end of September. Anyway, so Cattleya nobilior, as I explained in another video, this is a bifoliate Cattleya. They like hot conditions, bright conditions. They like plenty of water during the growing season, but they want to dry off fairly quickly. So I grow mine in clay pots, large clay pots, with some eco web on the bottom. So it's basically airspace on the bottom of the pot, and then large grade orchiata bark around it. And that does really well with these guys. Really, really, really well. They love the 100-degree temperatures. I've got them growing brighter than most of my other Cattleyas, and they're doing really well. So I want to show you 2 of the plants that I have. This is Nobilior alba, and I got this as a division, a blooming size division from Leonard Gines a few years ago. I think he was in Redlands, and I had a friend of mine, I've never been, but a friend of mine went and picked it up from him. I think it was from him. I should probably know that. But I want to show you, this is the first growth of the season. This is the second growth of the season, and it's still maturing. But even though it's not quite finished maturing, it's putting out this third growth, and that's fairly common under my conditions. You can kind of see some ants. They're over here wandering around, sipping up the nectar. So you may have noticed that on a lot of your orchids, the happy, healthy ones, as they're putting out new growths, they'll often have these little droplets of sugary sap, which is actually, it's pretty tasty. If you just take a little bit, put it on your tongue, it's pretty tasty. Of course, unless the ants get there first, they love it. They seem to come in, and it doesn't bother the plant that they're there. But anyway, I want to show you that, it's fairly common, at least for me, to have 2 or even 3 flushes of growth during the growing season, and just these massive balls of roots that come out. These plants really almost seem to do better once they're growing out the edge of the pot. And the next one that I show you is even nicer than this one. But excuse me, got a little bit of a cold or something going on, so my apologies. And this one will hopefully bloom. It'll put out the new spike maybe in January or February, and then bloom late winter, early spring. And I showed you pictures, or I showed you a video of what this will look like earlier in the year. The next one I'm going to show you is a cerulean that I got from Francisco Miranda some years ago, and this thing just grows like crazy. So I also want to highlight the fact that this is the largest bulb of any nobilior I've ever seen. So I want to show you, these roots are incredibly huge, incredibly fat. The first growth of the season, I think it was this weird little one that came out. I don't know what happened there. I don't know if it was supposed to be a spike, and then it decided partway through maturation that it wants to be a growth. I think that's what happened. But anyway, earlier in the season, it put out this monstrous bulb, 2 humongous rock hard leaves, and just tons and tons of roots. So the roots are growing down along the pot and then back into the pot. And it put out this new growth, which is maturing here. Not quite as large, but still very, very happy, very healthy. I anticipate seeing blooms on this spring, so I'm pretty excited. I actually haven't seen this one bloom yet. I'm not sure why. Francisco Miranda will tell you that the key to getting these guys to bloom, well, he'll tell you there's a bunch of keys, but one of them is the root ball. The root system has to be really, really big, really massive. And in the wild, these guys grow in very, very dry conditions for much of the year. So for a short, 3 or 4 month window, they get lots of rain, but then the rest of the year, there's almost no rain. But they do get nighttime fog, so there's some moisture coming in, but not much. Anyway, if this plant feels happy and healthy enough to bloom, it's going to be when it has a big giant root ball, and I think we've got that going on. And it's taken a few years for me to get that. So I got this from Francisco as this small ball, and you can see I have the old pot still in here that I potted it in. I like to do that with these guys, just stick it into a new pot and not even pull it out of the old one. That way you don't mess with the root system and set it back. But yeah, I'm pretty excited about this one. Monster plant. I love it. And the next one I want to show you is that Clowesetum. So the Clowesetum I made in my very first video in early 2019. This is the one that I showed you how to repot into PET, this big thing. And for whatever reason, this plant decided to bloom, put out spikes here in September, and these are the flowers. They're pretty nice. The winter time version, which is what I'm used to, is a little deeper pink, more intense color, but that's to be expected. Cooler weather will typically show brighter colors on your flowers. But what's interesting to me is the flowers are a little smaller than normal, but still super fragrant. It's got this weird mixture of the Clowesetum fragrance, which is very spicy, one of my favorite orchid scents, and it's mixed with a little bit of pine for whatever reason, and it's great. And you can see there's nice fimbriated lip. If you look inside the lip, it's got this nice oranginess. Hopefully this is showing up. I don't know. I'm gonna have to buy a big boy camera at some point. But until then, you guys are stuck watching this. And it's got this other spike over here, another one over here, and then another one over here. So as you can see, oh, and there's one up here. I hadn't even noticed that. So this actually has 5 spikes. Very large plant. I may or may not divide this one this year. We'll see. I may or may not pollinate one of these flowers. I'd like to put denticulatum on this and see what it does. Bring down the plant size, have this sort of arching inflorescence, but maybe add some spots, little smaller flowers maybe, who knows. It's a cross that hasn't been done before, so that's why my interest is piqued. Another thing that I'm kind of wondering about is, will this bloom for me again in February? Is this plant big enough now and happy and healthy enough that it's going to bloom twice a year for me and put on this amazing show? I don't know. I'll let you guys know. But again, this is towards the end of September. Not really. I don't have a whole lot of Cattlesetums that are starting to drop leaves yet. It's also 100 degrees on average. This is a really crazy hot year. It doesn't seem to be calming down, or cooling down, I should say. And it seems like these heated temperatures, in fact, I've got a couple of Cattlesetums that are putting out new flush of growth. you saw on this this Nobilior that it's putting out a third flush of growth. I've got other Nobiliors that are doing the same. So this year's growing season is just long, 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 which, it's got its ups and downs. It's hot still, but plants are growing, so oh well. With that, this is Stephen Van Kampen-Lewis signing off, and I will see you guys soon. In fact, my next one will be, I got tagged by OrchD to do a Q&A and talk about, I think it's 8 questions about myself, and I plan to do that next time. This video I just want to do real quick since I don't have much time, so hopefully next weekend I'll put out a new video with all the relevant orchid questions, and then I'll tag another orchid friend of mine that has a YouTube channel so that he will do the same thing, answer the same questions. And anyway, see you. Bye.